Hello, thank you for joining me. This one, actually, I decided to put all the American predictions on one video. So I've collected them. If you've seen any of the videos, great. You don't need to watch this. I'm sure some people would prefer having it all in one instead of scattered all over the place and hunting for the categories. So this is what I've done, and just want to let you know, I'm back in a mo with the videos, and it'll all be in one. Thanks. Happy New Year. We're talking about the weather for 2019 and moving onwards. We're going to concentrate on snow. Okay, so first we are going to experience, like I said last year, several snow blizzards where its activity is 2 or 3 days of intense weather, snow, hail, freezing rain, freezing snow, and basically it's going to affect from Washington down this way to the Carolinas on the higher elevations in Utah, Colorado. But basically, let's go through quickly. For those who are interested, I know quite a few people aren't, but that's why these videos are being sectioned in different subjects. So there's going to be about 5 major storms that I see. And the first one is going to hit around about the 2nd or 3rd, could be the 5th, but it's 2nd, 3rd of January. And it comes in and it really affects the, and again, it's coming down, it's a system coming down from Canada, and it's really coming from all the way like that way. From Russia it starts, I think, and it comes towards Canada and America. But basically you're going to see the the top half of the states being affected by this snowstorm. It's going to bring in a lot of heavy snow, and I'm seeing around about, 2 to 3 feet easily. And it could be in areas where it's going to really start getting very nasty, is from Michigan, from the lakes here, Ontario, or Toronto is going to be affected, Montreal. But basically, it's going to come in from Michigan and affect this particular storm, and 2 others will concentrate from North Dakota down and I'm just looking at America, sorry, just down here, and affect all these states. Buffalo and Boston are going to get affected with a lot of snow. I'm seeing 17 feet in one storm buildup. There will be that much snow, and that's at the end of February. Kind of really about the 26th of February, where it's building up snow pile after snow pile, Buffalo, Boston, and all the Vermont, and those areas are going to be pretty much hit with this storm system. And Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, I know I said America, but I'm just putting that in here, a bit of Canada. But it'll go as far down as Philadelphia, will affect New York, definitely, and even into a bit of Maryland. So it is more or less Michigan, but not as bad as it concentrates in this section. And that is at the end of February, so that other storm. You'll find that there is a general weather freezing. It's as if the whole states have gone into a freezing state, where the temperatures are plummeting, and again we're hitting new records for low temperatures this time, and it's as if it's a weird frost and freezing across nearly all the states, where even as far as that way, as low as down, even in Florida, to be honest. And I did say it'll be snow in Florida, and it did happen last year, or earlier this year rather. So anyway, basically, sorry, I'm trying to get my head straight because I'm doing 2019 predictions. weird freezing, which is going to be affecting 3/4 of the states, where you're going to have crops ruined, and this particular freezing storm will happen round about February, the start of February 2nd or 3rd, and it's such a cold system. And I have been talking about, and in the book on the epoch succession, which is really about the far future, about a mini ice age that we're going to be going through. But this, I'll talk about that at another time. But this is a prelude. Our weather is changing. We're experiencing all the tops and bottoms, in other words, the high heats and the low freezing weather. So it's also surprisingly affected. This thing is moving this way and going, even I'm seeing Cuba because of Florida, and these islands here are also receiving colder than normal temperature, where certain crops are dying, definitely in Florida, Georgia, and all of these states where they usually can keep on going. But so, as I said last year, the futures, if you're in stocks, is going to get affected on that one. Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Dallas, all about here, just above Houston and upwards. So that's that other storm. There will be a kind of a rolling system from, let's see, let's say 27th of February, right through. The worst storms are coming in March. Another set of storms are coming in March and hitting freezing cold Washington, Montana, and it's really hitting this section here, where Colorado is under deep drifts of snow, and Wyoming, South Dakota. I know they usually get that anyway, sadly. But Chicago, I mean, really freezing weather. It seems in excess than normal. So there are temperatures plummeting very quickly. I say this every year, please take care of the neighbors who are elderly or the homeless who need that shelter. And you're going to see a lot more deaths, unfortunately, because of that. So please be warned about it. I do see snow continuing until about the end of May. Usually I'm being pretty accurate with that. The last significant snows are coming in. March, April is going to be as if, oh, the weather's improving, but after April 27th it starts coming back in again, and May is pretty cool, and weather that should be kind of becoming temperate isn't. It's not warming up as much as it should, but you get another blast of cold spell, snow, and that's affecting this area again. Okay, so that's all just on the snowstorms. Be careful and keep warm. All right, thank you for joining me. Welcome back. This is US and flooding, and we are talking about quite a bit of weather that we're going to be having, unfortunately. Like I gave for this year, we're going to have in excess of weather regarding flooding. Now, first of all, we're going to see a lot of floods from really the melting of the snow, which obviously you're going to get it from here onwards. And I had said that the Mississippi actually is going to be pretty badly affected by the snow melts, and that means it's going to burst its bank, and it's going to be pretty brutal. I mentioned that in one of the other videos, I think the radio show, but anyway, it's going to be pretty devastating, 30 feet to even, I don't know if I'm right, I think 60 feet above flood stage in certain areas, the low-lying areas. So please be careful, and that's really due to the heavy snows. but also other additional storms that are coming in. It seems there's going to be a convergence of a large system, several large systems that are coming in from April onwards. Even in April, touching on April, this whole section here is going to be having far more rain than normal, which usually, obviously, Nevada doesn't get too much except Las Vegas, but these areas here and in there, they're going to be having a more deluge of rain here, what I'm seeing. So not so much as San Jose, but it's more here. And I see another system here, and it's really to do with the wine harvesting, those areas, Napa Valley, all the other areas up there, into Oregon. It starts from Oregon actually and comes down. But that one in about June, late June, July, there's so much rain. It's deluging, and I hate to say it, ruining the crops for the wine harvesting, let alone propagation and growing. So that, I'm sorry to say, I'm seeing a lot of flooding. Colorado, the lower points, it's all going to be runoff from the snow and in that area. Now, because I talked on an earlier video, I had mentioned that I'm seeing a lot of activity, and especially in this block here, this whole block, where there's, not Nebraska, but sorry, right about here, you're going to get a lot of more rain, especially this area here, where you're actually getting so much rain, it's flooding, flash flooding is going to be rife. Dallas, Austin, several areas, there's going to be, as I said, tornadoes activity because of that. Those systems, electrical storms that are far more violent, and I talked about this last year too. And Tennessee, Atlanta is going to get flooded a bit, definitely Mississippi where the area is, but there's also flooding here. Atlanta, Georgia, those are getting flooded. There's excessive amount of rain also in this portion, from this portion down into Miami, where the monsoons are going to be pretty brutal. So, and it affects these lower lying areas as well on flooding. So New Orleans, flooding. This Midwest area here in a triangle, sorry, an oblong here, they get a lot of flooding. That's another storm system that's coming in. And New York, I see, gets deluged as well, but that'll be in August. So there's a lot of other things contributing to that as well. And I think that could be a tropical storm that's coming in from off the coast on that one. Really, I know that doesn't sound great, but there is a lot of flooding there, flooding in Las Vegas in the monsoon season, which is, it sounds funny, desert town, but it's become that way. But the electrical storms are getting far more violent, I see, and there's far more flooding. Arizona too, there's flooding with storm systems in there, and kind of, I'm just talking about flooding. I'm trying to bring other things in. I'm trying to keep it to the subject. Okay, up north, Washington, really nothing. We'll talk about fires later in another video. Portland, Oregon, there's a lot of this area here from Washington down is going to get hit with a lot more rain than it did last year, which I think they're going to be happy about. But it'll be later in the year, not earlier. So that's it for now. I don't know if that even helps anybody, but let me know. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back to the States, and we're doing tornadoes here. And it has been relatively quiet this year, actually, really relatively. But there is going to be a difference where even though the season gets started around about February, I am seeing, because of some storm at the end of February, you're going to have isolated tornadoes, and it'll be, sorry, where's my stick? Round about here in Kentucky, and it's involving not only it's not the snow so much. There is a rainstorm and a weird weather system. Now, I'm not going to talk about every one of them, but there will be an increase from this year, 2018's tornadoes. It was relatively quiet, but on 2019, I'm seeing that there is a possibility of one F5, and that is going to be round about here in South Dakota. It's a storm system that's coming in here, and that will be coming in late August. Then there is, how can I say this? And there's going to be several storms. It's going to be not exactly 100% more than this year, but I'm going to say there'll be a total, and that's including F0s up to F5s, but literally it's a majority of F0 through F2s, and that will be a good 325 or something, and that will be in the main ones are those ones, the lower caliber will be here. There's going to be more in Dallas, round about here, Oklahoma, Kansas, and it's kind of from here onwards that you're going to see it. There are going to be two significant ones, so say about an F1, F2 in Orlando, around about Orlando, Jacksonville, but it's really going, it's kind of a water spout, but it's as if some kind of weather effects, and I think it's the hurricane that it's going to come in there, visit that, which we'll talk in another video. But basically, the F2s, I'm seeing about, sorry, F3s, I apologize, F3s, I'm seeing, F2s are about 17, maybe more, actually far more than that, I'm sorry. F3s, I'm seeing about 12 to 17. And they are coming in again as clusters. They're not individual. The F5, which is going to have kind of a trailing F0s to F2s and F3, not so much F3s, but F2s. But the F5 is again around about here that I'm seeing. So that'll be about, as I said, in August. The F4 is going to be round about here, Kansas, in this. It's as if it's going to be a very, very dry summer. We'll talk about heat another one video, but it's going to be an extremely dry summer, and fires as well we'll be doing. But basically, there's quite a bit. The activity really starts. There's going to be I wouldn't say about 17 tornadoes around in April. May, it's kind of quiet. June, around about June 12th to the 17th, it starts really ramping up again. And that's when you're going to see July, August, excuse me, July, August, that you're going to see the larger clusters and the storm activity. A lot of, with the tornadoes, you're going to see a lot of flooding, I'm afraid. And that is something, again, I'll talk about on a separate video. So I'm afraid there is going to be significant damage with the F5, and there may be as much as 4 F4s, but I think it's more F3s. One could be an F3, so count on at least 3 F3s, okay? And that, again, is in this section here, okay? In this section. All right, and that's it. I'm doing them very quickly, these videos, so people don't get too bored. All right, well, you don't need to watch. But thank you. I hope it helps some people. Okay, this one is for US, but it's going to be weird weather. And this is something that, to be honest, covers quite a bit of strange, not phenom, but weather that's not exactly you see every day. So I'm going to say that we're going to see more, and this is something, far more fog banks in Oregon along this whole coast, to be honest, not San Diego so much, a tiny bit, and that'll be late July. But it's like a fog bank coming in intermittently. And not every day, I'm just saying in the start of the morning, it could be a heat haze, but it's seen fog, it could be smog, to be honest, around about here. But anyway, so there's fog. But then there's, what I'm concerned about is large hailstorm, large hail. And I'm not talking small, I'm talking large. Oops, hello. As much as that. A good cricket ball, but you don't know what a cricket ball is. So it's about 3 inches to 7, 8 inches to 11 inches, as much as that sometimes on hail. And I'm seeing that in the Midwest here, but in around about this region here, where there's going to be storms, but it's coming down in the summer, and it'll be part of those. It's as if it's getting hit from a cold system and then collides, and it creates these enormous, they are enormous hail. So if you can, if there's storm systems and they're warning you about hail, put your car away, because I'm sure you don't want huge dents and things in your car. Stay away from windows when that happens. There will be quite a bit of a windstorm as well on those ones. Now, dust devils, and really it's what I'm more worried about are herboobs, which are the massive sandstorms. And they're getting more prevalent, and I said Arizona, I believe it did happen. But I do still see a bit of a herboob in Las Vegas, and also in some small towns outside of Las Vegas, about an hour out there. It seems it's contributing to a few things, but it seems to be this section here that have got the herboobs, which is really dense dust storms, sandstorms, sorry. So we expect that around about midsummer, July, late July into August, but really in July I'm seeing it more. So that's herboobs. Then there's, and whether you believe it or not, I'm saying tornadoes, because there are going to be a few tornadoes in LA or outside, and I'm seeing it even in Riverside County, things like that. So there are really weird, there's a tornado here in Oregon. Why they do have tornadoes, I'm afraid. 1 in 2, maybe as much as 3 tornadoes in Florida. And they have been right with those too, unfortunately. Texas, yes, definitely. And I'm sorry to say that they're going to be increasing that tornado activity. And I did cover tornadoes in another one. Let's see. What else have we got? They're like, well, I guess you can only call them, what do you call that? So I'm trying to reach for a name. What are they called? There's such a thing as an Arctic cyclone, but quite frankly, that's going to be part of the hurricanes, which, not hurricanes, but hailstorms, the cold, I'm sorry. Water spouts, that's it. So you're going to see a lot of water spouts, and they're mainly off here that I see. Carolina, there will be one going onshore. It's pretty brutal, that one. Not so much North Carolina, but South Carolina. There's about 3 to 5 around here, around about here, and 1 to 2 actually around here, near Houston, off the coast there, the Gulf. And I do see 2 or 3 in Los Angeles. They think it's tornadoes, but it's really, the one's not exactly huge, massive, but it will be causing some problems off the beaches there. So not quite in San Diego, but LA County I'm seeing. Okay. Thinking of anything else. Yes, there's going to be, by the way, mudslides. They're going to be off the coast right here, down here, Baja, it's not Baja. What's that called? Big Sur and everything else. There's going to be quite a few mudslides and rock slides down there. So be careful when the rainstorms come in. And April is going to towards mid to end of April, we're going to see lots more rain in that area. So be careful of that. All right. Okay. High surf, yes, there's going to be, they're not king waves, and king waves I'm going to cover in another one because it's really off the coast of Africa. I'm seeing them a bit more on the others, but there are going to be higher coastal actions and waves, not so much on the east. There's a bit, but quite frankly that's attributed to hurricanes. Here on the east coast, Los Angeles, high waves, and I'm seeing it as much as 10 to 15 feet, and these are like king waves, and it's not a tsunami, it's not attributed to a volcanic action, but sorry, not volcanic, what am I saying? Earthquake action, I guess I'm losing it, but anyway, high waves, and it's more or less up the coast here towards, it's mainly in Los Angeles and round about there, up north a bit more. Okay, so that's really it. High winds, we're going to be in excess of, and it feels like a hurricane, but we're going to see most of the deserts actually experience some high winds in here as well. Okay, landslides, I'm afraid they're going to be anything associated with the flooding, flash flooding, that will be deadly lightning I talked about. It is going to get worse. Excuse me. And the blizzards I talked about, the snow blizzards, which is going to be pretty bad. That's it really for now, as if that's not enough, right? And hopefully that'll help, but just know that the weather's changing, and if you're educated enough to know what is going on, you'll be able to have control over what is going to happen outside. I will say though that here not so much. The monsoons is going to, and Hawaii, by the way, I haven't forgotten about you, Hawaii, but Hawaii, Florida, not as much, but Hawaii and in Las Vegas, which is weird, they have monsoons, but it's really because they're changing the climate there. But basically you're going to experience far more intense monsoon weather, whereas flash flooding and downbursts of deluges of water, so be careful. And that's again something that's part of all this changing weather, and we're changing the environment would, cause and effect. What do you expect? So talk to you later. Bye. So terrorist activity, they are, I know that people think that it's actually waned a bit, but it really hasn't. ISIS is getting a new leader, I see, by February next year, and he's taking power and getting very aggressive. Not only ISIS, but the Taliban too, but they seem to be working in other ways, which also involves hacking computers and even stealing money, so or withdrawing money. So that is mostly in Europe, but it is going to affect us here. So I don't know if I'm seeing that correctly, or if the FBI can confirm that. They won't, of course. But anyway, that's another way that they're trying to undermine the United States. So the terrorist activities, I do see 2 attacks in, one in San Francisco, but that's more like a lone wolf, 2 in Los Angeles, and maybe as much as 2 in Texas. Washington, we've got a few attacks coming in there, at least nearly 3 coming in, and random racial acts that are happening more or less in this area, which is still, I hate to say, certain groups, the KKK and now other things who are very active still, white racist groups that are really trying to promote their own agenda. So I would advise that people be wary and careful, but they are getting to be very, other than vocal, physically active. And especially towards the end of next year, so that's September, late September, October, November next year, you'll see quite a few rather horrible attacks and meaningless attacks, which are going to have repercussions, I'm afraid. Chicago, let's see, round about there, and Detroit, all of those other ones, they're going to have a lot of racial riots and everything. So this, I guess, is riots as well. But there's a lot of protests and riots, and we're going to see, I'll put that on another one, sorry. Let's just stick to this one. So you will see, unfortunately, even one in Oregon, or it could be Washington State, but there's one there. Arizona, not really. So anyway, basically there, and there is one kind of a mass bombing coming in. I'm not going to say where, but I do see one. And nearer the time, I might, certain things I'm not allowed to give, and that's something that I've always said. I can put it out there, but I'm not here to warn you for every single thing. You have certain decisions you have to make. All right, thank you for listening. Hi, this is America, and it's hard subject. There are two subjects I'm going to cover rather, to some anonymously, but harshly, and that is shootings and suicides. This one is about shootings. Terrorists will be on another one, so I guess it's three. So this is America, and I'm going to go over a few things. The shootings, as I said, every year it's getting worse, and this year coming up, where it's going to go slow down a bit on school shootings, there's going to be more shootings. I didn't do an update, I didn't do a review like I did all those previous years. It gets to be pretty depressing. Why I do this, and a lot of people question me on this and saying, why are you so depressing? But if you want to be sticking your head in the sand and not seeing what there is out there regarding the carnage that's going on, that's up to you. But I don't need to listen to it. What I'm trying to do is to get people to be more proactive, know what the truth is out there, that shootings do happen. And it's just to make you aware that this is a reality of our new life. And I can't believe this, but there was a newspaper, TV it wasn't even a document, it was just a segment on TV saying, oh, scientists have found that it's violent games that lead to children shooting each other. I can't believe they've taken this long to even get to that stage. It's unbelievable that they need to have proof of that when it's so obvious. And it is violent games, and I'm not telling parents to tell them what to do, but that's where it propagates. You're conditioning a mind that hasn't been fully developed, and I always contend that it's really not until, for boys, it's about 28, sometimes 32, that they're not mature, and there are men who have told me that's exactly right. That's how they felt. They didn't really grow into what they believe a man should be until they're in their 30s. In girls, it's not until about 26, 28, and it's getting worse, to be honest. They become less mature. I'm not talking about the children who have sound values and everything. I'm talking about children who are more or less left on their own and have no monitoring. In other words, that they are left to their own devices, and that they're allowed and skim the internet and really get involved in the violent actions, and that's why they're so easily plagued by these terrorists. But that's another video. I'll get back on track. Sorry about my soapbox. But basically, we're going to see a lot more shootings in America, and for school shootings, let's go over that one. But we are seeing some. I seen one in Washington. I said Texas last time. I don't know if there was. I haven't checked any of these yet. Texas, I do see maybe a possibility of 2 school shootings. One could be at a church too, again. And one in Virginia, New York, and that's a terrorist attack. In California, I'm seeing about as many as 5, to be honest. And it's not so much school shootings, but it's other shootings. I'm not talking about general gang violence, but this is like a mass shooting. So I see one in about 2 in Washington, not Washington State, but Washington D.C., near the Pentagon. And bombings are covering terrorist activity. So I'm afraid that's just going to continue. Really, I wouldn't say nothing new. I don't want to be flippant, but quite frankly, it's one in Colorado too. But there are going to be school shootings where they feel they have the right, even in Las Vegas or in that region, Arizona, that they're going to have a small one in Montana, I think, like 2 people. But it's sad that these shootings are still going on, and people don't agree with me about the guns. It's really the person. And if you're going to condition minds to be acceptable to violence, of course they're going to think nothing of it and do it. And they won't even suffer the repercussions mentally because they're not cognitively fully developed. And I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, psychotherapist, or whatever you want to call it, just to let you know that this is what I am seeing, okay? And it's my personal opinion, I'm entitled to, but just to let you know that, okay? Just be aware of your surroundings when you're at school, if any kids watching this, and you should trust your instincts, intuition, which is on the increase, and know where, in a way, always plan your escape and know what to do, and you only realize how precious life is until you get confronted with the possibility of death. So I just wanted you to say, love you to the people that you care to on a daily, not even on a daily basis, at least occasionally, and then you'll realize who are the good people in your life. All right. So this is on shootings in America. Sorry, it's such a down subject, but it's a reality of life. This is America, but it's riots. And we're going to increase the riots. They're kind of going on full swing here. And that's only in a couple of weeks from now, which I should have put on the other video, but quite frankly, we are going to experience a huge amount of riots, protests, demonstrations, and they start within about 2 or 3 weeks, and it's really to do with the elections, where they're getting 2 groups are really fighting each other and being very vocal about it. It's as if it is the general election, but it isn't, and it's all politically motivated. But it's also, there's a lot of race riots as well, and again, it's in this area here that you're going to have in Chicago, and not so much a small one there, but mostly in this area here that you're going to find those racial riots in that. Washington, people are going to get more vocal on YouTube, things like that. So making their own case for their side. Okay, this year I'm not going to get too involved in the politics. It's exhausting. All right, hopefully that helps you. Earthquakes into America. Now, obviously, this one's one of the most unstable landmass here because everything's tectonic plates are moving up. But sadly, you know, from last year, I know I did see there's quite a few huge earthquakes. There is going to be a 7.6, at least I'm seeing a 7.6, 7.9 could be as much as 8.1 in Alaska and the strait there. Needless to say, there's going to be clusters and the usual, and volcanoes, about 2 or 3 that are, not I would say active, but they're definitely stirring, put it that way. But there will be a major shift. I think I'm seeing in late August with a big drop. It's as if it's a shifting plate just drops, and around about there, and could be connected to a near 8.1. I hope I'm wrong on that one, because that's going to create a tsunami which will eventually hit lower Washington right about from here down through, subsequent effect down here with a tsunami. And the tsunami is about 4 or 5 feet, maybe 8 to 10. But quite frankly, it's a kind of a weird shift, a drop that's kind of happened there. Earthquakes down here, there's the usual here that's going to be, and it's still kind of active here off the coast, 6.6s, 6.9s, but 6.8 actually, not 9. Oregon's going to have a few more off the coast, but also minor ones, which really mostly don't get recorded. And I usually show you a map, but this year I'm not going to do it. LA will increase in its earthquake activity. Not the big one, don't worry about it, but I am seeing far more little earthquakes coming in into the LA area. The Gulf of California, this Gulf Coast is actually going to be very active, 6.6s, 6.8. Mexico, there's going to be Mexico, just outside Mexico City, there's going to be a 6.8. That's going to be quite devastating. A lot of deaths, I'm afraid. Hope I'm wrong. And the drop H is what I've always called it, where it has activity here, obviously, but you're also seeing fracking, and that's going to increase, by the way. You're going to see more earthquakes there, and larger ones, largest being about 5.5, 5.8, and it is part of that fracking in here. But then all other areas here are also experiencing minor earthquakes. You will see one side outside Washington at 3.5, maybe even as high as 5.5 in upstate New York or New York, in that area. Little ones coming in from here as well. And the Salton Sea will be active, but later, around about late August, September, and that would give out a 6.5. And of course, they're going to say, oh, this is the big one. It is not. All right. Little ones in Yellowstone that are going to be happening. The animals know, but it's not an indication that one of the volcanoes are going to go, the big one. It's just a caldera that's being kind of not reactivated, but active and simmering. But that will be associated with a few of the earthquakes there. It's kind of a large area here, which is kind of mostly active. That circle there. Okay, that's earthquakes. Hi everyone. This is the earthquake USGS, and this is just for 30 days, and all earthquakes only for 4.5 above. So you can see how active as usual, and this is what they call the Ring of Fire. It's very active, and this is not bad actually, but that was the 7.5, where he's seeing a lot more activity here, and that's one thing I'll talk about in Asia. But this is what I was talking about, 6.2, round about here. Okay. And obviously South Africa is being hit as well. Sorry, South America, what am I saying? South America, and that's part of it. We haven't even got to see there's more activity coming in Chile and a few other countries in there. But Japan, that's going to experience a 7.2, 7.9. But that's going to be pretty deep. I don't see any tsunamis being generated from that. So people don't need to worry about it. Okay, thank you for joining me. In all these videos that I'm talking, I will be doing intermittent updates. I don't know when they will be. It all depends if I see something that I'd like to really put out there. But it's very important, I know, to some people to be forewarned, and that's all these predictions are for, is to be forewarned and not to be scared. But knowledge is power, where you can be proactive about your thinking and your actions. And I'm not talking about violence, please, God, no. But it's just more about, okay, what do I need to do for myself to make myself secure and my family and loved ones? And if you start just really looking at that and not panicking or being in fear of the world's situation, you won't live and exist in that fear cocoon, which you can't, to be honest. There's no air there, and it definitely will warp your view, and let alone your decision making. Okay, and I'll talk to you another time. Thanks for watching. This one is for the US, and it's fires, and yes, we have been obviously devastated this year with all kinds of horrible fires, and I hate to say it's going to get worse. Not in certain areas, not as bad, but it's pretty devastated already. And I see the National Guard going out and helping firemen out there, because they can't, not that they can't handle it, they're doing an incredible job, but it's just too overwhelming. So I'm seeing Yellowstone again attacked, and I think that's a idiot, doesn't know how to start control a fire, but lights a fire, and that's about it. In Yellowstone, that's one, and that goes on for weeks, I'm afraid. Washington here will be one, Montana up there, not San Francisco, Oregon is going to be, there's California throughout. I'm seeing 17 large fires just outside Los Angeles too. Encinitas, kind of a small one in Carlsbad, all in the edge here. I mean, they're all over in California, where there's dry brush. Arizona, there's going to be a bit in Las Vegas on outside, not too bad. Utah, Colorado, yes, there's going to be. What can I say? I hate to say it's going to be quite a bit. It's all, remember I talked about the Dust Bowl here. That's they're closely monitoring, but that's going to be quite devastating. I know that you really don't want fires in Florida, I'm seeing. Texas, about 5 to 8 of them in certain areas that catch. Missouri, there's one. I hope I'm wrong with all of this. Virginia, about 3 total. New York, upstate, and I hope I'm wrong. Anyway. Yes, here we go again, high heat. Now obviously we've broken so many temperature records all over America, and quite a bit of the world actually as well, and co-creating all kinds of problems. But we'll talk about Europe and the rest of Asia, etc. later. So, sorry, what I'm going to do is we're going in again to high heat in the rest. It won't start really until, what I'm seeing is really mid-June, and it'll start increasing, but not breaking records, but we're experiencing high heat. And it's mostly, strangely, in the Midwest that I see it being affected. That it's a normal, there are some actual records breaking for high heat in from May 27th, 28th. There's a heat wave going on, and kind of attributing it And we're worried about a dust bowl effect here in the Midwest. Not as bad as 1929 and all those years, but it is a worry because it's been quite devastated in the last few years with high heat. So that's when it starts in the Midwest, but we're going to see Oregon, I mean practically everything. So Yellowstone, Idaho, Montana, not as bad, but yes, there are a few there. But mostly every state is going to see high heat records broken again. And it's going to be July from about the 10th to the 12th. Towards the end of July is going to be brutal. The heat's going to be just in excess. August is right through until about September 12th. There's going to be fluctuating heat patterns coming in that are just alternating with some very severe thunderstorms and deluges of rain too. I know I covered rain, but that is going to affect all these unusual high 111, 112 that Los Angeles was undergoing in California, which is extremely unusual. That all will again come and revisit areas of Orange County, etc. in Southern California. Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, I hate to say it, this portion here is going to get brutal heat. And then in from here, some really on the tip of North Carolina downwards to Florida is going to be pretty darn brutal. And in excess of its usual. Electrical storms, as I talked about, is part of that high heat convergence. And sorry, but that's going to be pretty bad. It's going to increase even 1 to 2 degrees above what it was. So just be careful of your heating and cooling and make sure drinks and water is the best, obviously. And sorry about that, but I hope I'm wrong, as usual. See you. This is on suicides, and I'm going to do a separate video, which I'll be in front of you. I've written quite a bit of it for the book, because these are part of the signs, and the signs are about over nearly 400 signs, actually, I can document, that I have documented in the book, which one day I'll get out, but timing is everything. But anyway, suicides, they're on the increase, and it's young. I know there are 8-year-olds, even younger than that, trying to commit suicide, and they have no cognitive awareness of as to what they're doing. Their mind has developed, they know they're being picked on or threatened, or they've got a horrible, and I'm seeing some of them are just devastated, abuse, sexual abuse, all kinds of things that they experience in their private lives. So sad to say that suicide is going to be actually increased more so than the last 2 years, if not 3 years. So really, I'm telling the parents out there or friends to develop a relationship that you'll know when somebody is on the brink and feels isolated. I'm going to go over a lot of signs in this video I'll upload after all of these predictions, but that would be a special video that's going to be hard to take. But for those who are going through this massive darkness and suppression of everything in their life, and as if they're just in a basically buried alive in a coffin they can't even move in. The depressions are getting so worse and bad, and I'll give you all what I see, because I usually step into people when I read. So it is an epidemic, is a good way to say it, and in other countries as well, not only in America. So I'm going to put this on general, on the suicide one too. Just be careful for yourself, and there are the ones who think suicide, I'll take everybody down with me, and that's when I'm talking about school shootings and mass shootings. So if you're aware of certain behavior, talk to somebody else who hopefully will resound your intuition and do something about it. Not victimization, I don't want that. But you do need to make yourself aware of it. All right, best of luck.